UFOs are being encountered all around the world in record numbers. The truth is finally coming out from scientists, governments, and the military. These mysterious objects in our skies are real.
I was scared to death. Why is this happening to me?
I've never been really frightened in my life except for that instant.
Ordinary people who have had terrifying, life-changing encounters with UFOs and alien life can now come forward without the fear of ridicule.
An alien abduction encounter is a very traumatic experience, one that is deeply disturbing, deeply unsettling.
These personal and emotional stories are tipping the scales to belief.
This is going to change the world. This is going to change the way people think. We will finally know for sure that we're not alone in the universe.
The tall creature approached me with a tool. I was yelling, screaming, get me out of here.
I started to question my sanity.
It is absolutely life-changing and mind-blowing.
Was this real? Was this a dream?
In this dawn of the age of the UFO, what was once thought impossible is now becoming very real.
Are these things really science fiction? I don't think so.
Missing time, lost memory, deep emotional and sometimes even physical trauma. These frightening tales of abduction by extraterrestrial creatures may sound like science fiction, but they're not. They're all too real.
I've never had any doubts, not for a minute, and I've never changed the story.
I knew that I had experienced something, this awful, terrifying experience where I was left devastated and traumatized.
To this day, I still don't believe what happened to me.
An alien abduction encounter is a profoundly enmeshed experience with the unknown, where we have alien abductees who proclaim to be taken aboard spaceships held by actual alien entities, subjecting them to lab tests, experimenting with the properties of their bodies, and often accompanied by stories of missing time, where all of a sudden the days seem to pass and the abductee has no awareness of where that time went or what happened. It certainly, for the experiencer, is something that comes across as a very horrific ordeal.
We're embarking on a journey with a horrifying potential outcome. The very idea that a UFO encounter could lead to an abduction, or worse, cracks open every normal and accepted reality of our safe existence here on planet Earth.
It's a very, very scary moment when somebody feels that they've been abducted or taken.
People will remember being physically examined. People wake up with mysterious scars on their body, little scoop marks, or bruises, or puncture wounds, broken bones even.
How can we possibly protect ourselves and our families from dangerous otherworldly creatures with no known defenses or any real understanding? Erin Montgomery will never forget her terrifying abduction experience.
I was able to see that there were two rather tall, gray alien-type beings at the foot of the bed, and that's really when the panic set in. After my experience, I was afraid of the dark. I would spend hours trying to sleep, but huddled in a corner thinking, oh my God, don't come get me, leave me alone, don't come tonight, please just don't come tonight.
Ex-Marine Terrell Copeland would soon face that very same fear. He claims he was taken against his will by extraterrestrials in 2007.
It was very terrifying. I remember I fell asleep on my couch and I woke up to someone trying to get him in my front door. Like the doorknob was jiggling. And I went to get up. I couldn't move. I'm like, okay, I'm starting to panic. because there's somebody trying to open my door and I can't move.
Stuck in a terrifying limbo and longing for his 9mm, Terrell hears an otherworldly voice.
The voice was in the room. It was as if there was a person there, but you couldn't see him. The voice said, "It's okay. We don't mean you any harm. You don't need your firearm." I had so many emotions and thoughts running through my head at one time. You know, am I about to get taken? What's happening?
Terrell's terrifying paralysis isn't unique to his story. It's a reoccurring theme in many alien abduction accounts, including one of the most well-known, the case of Betty and Barney Hill.
Their story was one of the first well-documented UFO abductions and really cemented a lot of the features that would appear again in later abduction accounts. Betty and Barney Hill's story begins when they were driving home from a trip to Quebec, and they were heading back to New Hampshire.
It was then Betty and Barney noticed something in the sky above, a luminous flying object, unlike anything they had ever seen. Barney stopped the car and grabbed his binoculars to get a better look. In a 1961 radio interview, Barney was able to describe in vivid detail what happened next.
With the binoculars, I could see what I thought was approximately 9 to 11 men looking down through this series of windows toward me. I was quite alarmed, and I made a hasty retreat to the car, screaming to the wife that they had seen me, they had seen us. The thing that has continued to be an enigma, a puzzle to me, is that I said, "My God, they're going to capture us."
But before that happened, they suddenly became frozen, unable to move. Just like Terrell.
Only thing I could move was my eyes. And I'm like, okay. I know I'm not dreaming because I can feel myself sitting on my couch. I feel the air conditioning. I'm awake, I'm aware.
This can be a very profoundly anxious moment where you're trapped and you're unable to make your body move the way that you should be able to. Instead, you're stuck there and you might feel like there's an ominous presence around you.
There's a lot of connection between sleep paralysis and ET abductions.
This frightening medical condition is actually much more common than most of us realize.
A lot of people reporting sleep paralysis also claim that they encounter strange beings or strange presence in the room. It's like they're trapped in a dream, but this is real.
I was scared to death. I couldn't move.
Wracked in horror, Terrell is held prisoner, locked in his own body, unable to move.
I was trying to get out of this vulnerable position that I was in. I tried to move my extremities. I was in complete paralysis.
Suddenly, the mysterious and overpowering force releases Terrell.
So as soon as I could move, sure as the first thing I did was I grabbed my gun. And I opened the door. There was nobody there.
I think that a lot of people who have these experiences feel that they're having a mental breakdown. Am I going crazy? What is going on with me?
But Terrell's nightmarish ordeal would be far from over. During the next few days, strange things began to happen.
It was a traumatic time for me. I did not sleep. I was afraid I would wake up in the middle of the night just in a cold sweat. I never experienced anything like that.
Even in the refuge of his apartment, Terrell was not safe and had nowhere to hide from the deeply disturbing things he was sure were happening to him.
It's like 3-something in the morning, and as soon as I wake up, I look at the clock, it says 3:30. And like that, my alarm goes off, and it's like 5:30, and it's time for me to get up to go to work. What happened to those 2 hours? And that happened 2 nights in a row.
Face to face with the unfathomable, stress began to wreak havoc on Terrell's mental and emotional state.
Am I crazy? I don't know what's happening.
Terrell struggled to come to terms with what was happening to him, and it would become even more bizarre as he began to piece together faint, foggy memories of an extraterrestrial abduction.
I always try to write stuff down because as time goes on, you start to forget some intricate details of what happened because it's too astounding.
Terrell's journaling unlocked the door to his nightmarish buried memories.
I remember I watched the movie and I fell asleep. When I woke up, I wasn't in my apartment anymore. I was somewhere else. I don't know if I was in a military installation, if I'm in outer space, I don't know where I'm at. I'm just not in my apartment. And I'm looking through this corridor and I remember there was something like a being much shorter than me standing there. He didn't have any hair, eyes were all black. So I kind of like was taken aback.
Suddenly, Terrell was stricken with fear when he realized what he was looking at.
I jumped, like my heart jumped because this is an alien.
The world has entered a new era of UFO encounters, understanding, and acceptance. Incredible eyewitness testimony and a growing number of declassified files of alleged extraterrestrial encounters rattles our sense of security within the vastness of the cosmos.
It's the ultimate question, are we alone in the universe?
I know definitively that we're not.
Terrell Copeland came to this conclusion in the most chilling of ways. In 2007, the ex-Marine claimed he was taken, beyond his will, by unknown entities aboard one of their crafts.
I certainly don't know where they're from, but they're not human.
And Terrell's experience would bring on a roller coaster of intense emotions.
When you're confronted with something that is not supposed to be real, you react in a primal way, like fight, flight, or you're in shock.
It's very difficult for people to process these incredible experiences. Many people go into denial. It's hard to accept what seems to be unacceptable.
I'm still trying to wrap my head around what happened to me. It was bizarre. I started to question my sanity. I was like, I'm losing my mind.
Growing up, before his terrifying UFO encounter opened up his world to the incredible unknown, Terrell Copeland didn't give much thought to UFOs.
I grew up in the church. My mom was a minister, so that's something that's not taught. It wasn't something I was thinking about, especially as a kid. As you know, I was born in Portsmouth, raised in Suffolk, rural area. Been here most of my life. Joined the military, Marine Corps when I was in the 11th grade. I was on active duty for about 2 years and came back home. This is where I've been ever since.
Shortly after his return from combat, the military veteran began to notice strange lights in the sky. It was then when his thoughts, emotions, and imagination turned to the possibility of extraterrestrials and their incredible flying craft.
This occurred over a 3-night period. And it was just this big, beautiful orb of light that was out in the distance. That second night, I saw it again in the same general vicinity. Big, gorgeous ball of light just sitting there in the air. That really piqued my interest. What is this thing, you know?
Unable to ignore these fascinating and mysterious lights, Terrell hopped in his car to get a closer look.
I ended up in the parking lot of a shopping center, and what I saw was an object that was larger than the whole shopping area, a massive object just sitting there. It was a black triangle.
The military veteran is certain that this was not a terrestrial aircraft. It was eerily silent.
I was absolutely afraid. I couldn't hear anything. No jet noise, no nothing. It was like, what is this? I mean, what's going on here? It started moving maybe a couple miles an hour down the road.
And then it disappeared. It was gone, but the encounter would forever alter Terrell's life.
That sighting changed my foundation as far as beliefs and what I think I know and definitely what I didn't know. And that's what started me on the path that kind of, has anybody else seen anything like this?
Terrell's new mission was to keep an eye to the sky and document the UFO if it ever returned. And in 2007, it did. His footage of the triangular-shaped craft would become one of the most widely shared UFO videos ever.
I was like, man, who gets to witness stuff like this? This is unreal.
Unidentified triangles in the sky, like Terrell's, have been witnessed around the world.
Triangular UFOs are very common. We've had multiple sightings that were triangular UFOs.
One of the most famous sightings of triangle-shaped UFOs was in 1990 in Belgium. Over a period of a few months, several eyewitnesses came forward, claiming they saw anomalous triangle objects in the sky.
In the Phoenix Lights, famous Phoenix Lights scenario back in 1997, that is what many, not all, but many people reported seeing either lights in the shape of a triangle or, in fact, a vehicle of some kind in a triangular shape.
Sightings of these crafts have increased over the years. In 2020, the U.S. National UFO Reporting Center recorded 200 reports of triangle-shaped crafts.
Is a triangle conducive to their purpose, their mode of motion? Is it something to do with their propulsion, the energy fields they create? Can't say.
It's a terrifying possibility to consider that an unknown species appears to have the ability to drop into our lives and abduct us at will.
I became consumed by it. There is something else out there. Are they from outer space? I don't know. They could be from another dimension. They could be from another time.
Across the country, Erin Montgomery has also been struggling to understand her own haunting memories. Like Terrell, Erin also believes she's the victim of an alien abduction, and more frightening, lives in constant fear that she will be taken again.
I have had times throughout my life where I struggled with sleep. I would huddle in the corner of my bed thinking, oh my God, just don't come get me, leave me alone, don't come tonight, please just don't come tonight.
It all started one night back in 2012.
So I had gone to bed that night just as I would normally go to bed and fell asleep.
What happened next haunts Erin to this day.
The next thing I remembered, I woke up encased in what seemed like a stretcher, and I could tell I was being moved, and I pretty much kind of just went back black, just kind of phased out.
Her next recollection was waking up in what looked like a cave.
The walls all around were rock, like it had been chiseled out or blown out with dynamite or something like that. The next thing I remembered was pain, horrible, horrible pain racking through my lower abdomen. And as I tried to sit up and hold my stomach, I realized I was tied down. My arms were restrained. And I had a surgical tent type of apparatus across my belly, and I was confused.
That's when she saw them.
There were two rather tall, gray alien-type beings at the foot of the bed, and that's really when the panic set in.
Our worldview of UFOs and aliens is shifting, one incredible, terrifying encounter at a time. The lives and day-to-day routines of unsuspecting UFO experiencers are suddenly and horribly altered. As more and more of these shocking, emotional stories are told, it's becoming impossible to turn a blind eye to what many believe is the real truth. Aaron Montgomery's encounters with aliens have a frightening, sinister undertone that leaves more ghastly questions than answers.
I was able to see that there were two 4 to 5 feet tall beings standing at my feet. I knew something awful was happening and I was in so much pain.
Erin's pain and emotional stress didn't end after her experience.
And when I awoke in my bed the next morning, I had a hard time, like, was this real? Was this a dream? I didn't know if what I had experienced was real or not. And then I found fingerprint bruises on the inside of my thighs, and I knew that it had been real. I was devastated. I was scared.
The trauma of Erin's recollections soon began to take a toll on her personal life.
I became much more irritable. I became more depressed. I began missing work. All of the areas of life suffered because of the trauma that I had gone through that night.
Erin needed to uncover the truth of what had happened to her and looked to hypnosis to unlock the memories hidden deep within her mind.
I had never been hypnotized before, so I wasn't sure what to expect.
Hypnosis has helped abductees unearth buried memories, but they are often accompanied by traumatic emotional wounds.
Essentially, what you're doing is reliving the experience itself. There can be crying and screaming and erratic movement during this experience.
Erin's hypnosis session reveals something startling, a deep impression that she had been visited by these strange creatures before, as a child.
I was 7 years old, and I remember I had gone to bed, and I just felt that there was this bright light coming through the window. And it was at that moment that I realized there was somebody standing next to the bed.
And they're not alone. Erin sees there are 2 other unknown beings in her room as well.
So there were 3 in the room. And the one at my feet slid his hand under my foot, and it was at that point in time that I levitated out of the bed.
Levitation is one of the more common elements of abductions. They don't open the door. They go through the window or through the roof of the car, through a wall, through the ceiling, and invariably onto the craft.
Which is exactly what Erin claimed happened.
I could feel my molecules like shifting apart and passing through the molecules of the ceiling, eventually out through the roof and into the sky. And all 4 of us are floating in what I then could see was a beam of light rising up to a ship in the sky, and it was a saucer-shaped ship.
Erin's experience takes a horrific turn when she arrives inside the mysterious craft.
They took me into a room, what I would call like an exam room or something like that, and they put me into a chair and strapped me in so I wouldn't be moving around. And it was at this point that another being entered the room.
Erin remembered this entity was not like the others. Its appearance fills her with a desperate fear.
I became so terrified of this being that I tried to get out of the chair. I was yelling, screaming, get me out of here. The creature approached me with a tool that was like a fork. It had 2 prongs on it, and resting in the middle of the prong was a biological, like gelatinous piece of something. It was inserted into the roof of my mouth, and woke up in the morning with no memory at all of what had happened.
The astonishing details unearthed during Erin's hypnosis session are actually quite prevalent in many abduction cases.
Erin's report has a lot of the typical motifs of an alien abduction. Being frozen on the surgery table, being unable to move, being stuck there. This is something that is very disturbing in the way that these stories are recounted.
But many abductees are reluctant to tell their story.
A lot of them don't talk about it because they're scared that they're going to be judged. has a stigma of them being crazy, not rational.
Terrell Copeland had a difficult experience after he shared his story with the media.
After the newspaper article came out, it was a lot of ridicule. I lost a lot of acquaintances, and I often had spirited arguments with my mom about it.
Across the Atlantic, Helen Moon, a UK resident and young mother, was also reluctant to tell anyone about her UFO encounter and abduction experience.
I kept quiet for 40 years for fear of ridicule.
It all began back in 1980, when Helen, her parents, and her 3 children went on their annual road trip to Scotland.
Everybody was in good spirits, and looking forward to time away.
But their idyllic journey would soon turn to terror.
This is burned, seared into my memory.
What they say they witnessed would impact them for the rest of their lives.
It was a black craft. It was triangular, and it just slowly rose through the trees. It was totally, totally silent. I knew that what I was looking at couldn't possibly be there. It cannot exist, and yet it's there. And I was very frightened, and the children began to get nervous.
She got a very strong impulse. This UFO is very close. It's right overhead. This is something that is coming for them.
Awestruck, in a moment of fear, Helen reaches for her camera to snap proof of the incredible sighting, only to be overcome by an otherworldly directive.
And the camera was just behind me on the window ledge. And as I reached back, I got this terrible fear that I mustn't do this. It was just a very, very strong feeling. It was very intense. I think it was reading my mind.
This comes up in research. There are cases of individuals who will just know instinctively, as they did, don't touch that camera because there'll be ramifications if you do.
Helen and her family are unable to do anything but watch helplessly as the strange craft flies away and eventually disappears. Like it never happened.
The next conscious thought, we were suddenly at Edinburgh. And we arrived there actually on the stroke of midnight. We should have been there about 6:30 in the evening. And we were all, what happened? Where have we lost the time? Nobody had any memory, and we were just so confused.
This realization raises Helen's encounter to a whole new, bizarre level, with frightening and gut-wrenching implications.
I think that we were taken somewhere. I've no proof of that. I just know that it happens. Something abducts you and your children. That's an invasion of the very worst sort.
For the people who claim it happened to them, meeting an unworldly being face to face is a deeply emotional experience that tears a hole in the mundane fabric of our day-to-day lives.
An alien abduction encounter is a very traumatic experience, one that is deeply disturbing, deeply unsettling.
Life-altering. Those are the only 2 words I can use. These are life-altering experiences, and the witnesses never forget.
But their recollections sound more like science fiction than science fact. A loss of will, control over their bodies.
I couldn't move. I was in complete paralysis.
Unwitting guinea pigs to bizarre medical experiments.
They inserted this biological mass into the roof of my mouth.
I felt like I was a lab rat.
Time unaccounted for. No memory of what happened.
And we just didn't know why we were suddenly at Edinburgh and where 6 hours had gone.
Are these things really science fiction? I don't think so.
Evidence of that is the credibility of the abductees themselves and striking similarity in their experiences.
I think there's a huge misunderstanding that people who see UFOs or have had these encounters are a bunch of crazed lunatics. I think it points to our really limited material world.
Science doesn't have the instruments to measure the types of things that we're talking about, but I think that there's value in the, what I would say, empirical data of anecdotes. The common threads are really what us ufologists, if you will, rely on to try to put some semblance of a story together.
One of these commonalities can be found in the physical descriptions of the abductors. Terrell Copeland will never forget his.
This is an alien. I just knew it from when I saw the typical alien gray that most of us hear about, the black eyes and stuff.
These grays, as they are called, are the most common species that abductees say they have encountered.
They are described, the large bulbous heads, the large eyes, a slit for a mouth, slit for a nose. There have been multiple species identified and described, but the grays are probably the most enigmatic and auspicious of them all.
But as a child, Erin claims she was confronted by a being far more monstrous.
I cannot recall exactly what he looked like. I do know that his head was triangular in shape and was extremely tall, like maybe 7 feet tall. He scared me so bad.
The descriptions of mutant space creatures don't stop there.
At least 25 to 30 species have been identified. The mantis or mantid grasshopper-like beings, to feline species, to dog species, the dolphin species, many animal, interestingly.
Stories of contact with these possibly malevolent interplanetary beings have been around since the beginning of time. And there is compelling historical evidence that could prove it is more than just myth. A depiction of a possible alien visitor from ancient Egypt in a 16th century painting, The Baptism of Christ, with a curious inclusion, and many others.
There are stories throughout our human history of encounters with anomalous things or entities.
Mesopotamia, one of the first civilizations, have a very ET-like folklore attached to it.
And in many traditions and indigenous cultures, there's just too much evidence, I think, in the annals of history to say none of this exists.
Missing time and erased memories can be found in many stories of extraterrestrial encounters. And like with Terrell, Erin, and Helen, it can elevate the emotional stress of their experience.
I didn't have any memory at all that anything strange had happened. The memory was washed away.
The missing time enigma is probably one of the most perplexing and yet most common aspects of the abduction phenomenon. There's a chunk of time in which you didn't know what you were doing, and they don't know where that time went.
And not knowing where you went or what happened to you is terrifying.
Somehow these beings, they're operating outside of the framework of time that we know. I call it a time warping. Time warps when you're having experiences where there's an alteration of consciousness somehow. They have the ability, it seems, to shift our own consciousness in the process of all this in any way they want.
It's petrifying to know that they have the ability to do that.
It also raises an important question that anyone would ask their alien captor.
Why are you mind blocking? What is to be blocked that I'm not to see or remember?
And the answer may be more unsettling and sickening than ever imagined.
It didn't take me long to realize that they must have been harvesting a fetus.
The experience defies belief. But these witnesses are sure it happened. They've had terrifying and deeply emotional encounters, taken by beings not of this earth, as lab rats in mysterious experiments, then made to forget, leaving behind little evidence, just fragmented memories and missing time.
Most abduction encounters do have physical evidence of some kind.
Helen and Erin have some, in the form of peculiar physical traces left on their bodies.
When I had awoken the next morning, I had 3 bruises on each inner thigh, and so I knew that it was real.
I woke up with a very red face, and that got progressively worse as the week wore on. Something from that craft caused the sunburn.
Marks and scars and burns. So we know there's something going on here.
Back in the 1960s, investigators documented Betty and Barney Hill's physical evidence in photographs.
There were spots on their car. Barney's shoes were all scuffed up. Betty Hill also had a dress which was torn and had a peculiar stain on it.
They report other kinds of strange anomalies with their skin and their bodies that they really can't explain.
And the personal violation they say they experienced crosses a very clear line.
They were basically subjected to procedures without any sort of consent.
It's something that comes up time and time again in abduction stories. Ghastly medical experiments and painful procedures on various parts of the human body.
In my research, 9 times out of 10, there is a recollection of there being an invasive procedure done, and it's painful.
The awful speculation is that they may be using us for an unthinkable purpose.
The aliens that they described were very much interested in their reproductive capabilities. Barney had a device attached to his groin, and Betty as well seemed to have a sort of pregnancy test.
And Erin Montgomery is sickened by what she believes her alien abductors did to her.
I believe that what happened to me when I had been taken was that they had taken a fetus from me.
There was only one problem.
I was not sexually active at the time. There was no way I could have been pregnant.
So how do you explain this? And I believe the ETs are creating a hybrid race or revitalizing their race with our genetics. Their race is dying out, and they are taking women and they will impregnate them. And at about 3 months, suddenly the pregnancy disappears. And I think Erin's story supports this.
Erin had no lingering health issues related to her experience, but Helen suspects her close encounter almost cost her life.
I've had cancer 4 times. A very fast-moving malignant melanoma. All told, I think I've had 24 doses of chemotherapy and 15 of radiation treatment. And I'm still here.
I think that something truly happened here. There are a number of cases where people have gotten too close to a UFO and experienced what pretty much looks like radiation sickness.
For Helen, Erin, and Terrell, their incredible eyewitness testimony gives credibility to the intense emotional impact of their experiences. And although their stories are radically different, they contain incredible physical evidence and some startling similarities common to alien abduction cases. Being frozen, unable to move.
Often when ETs will enter a person's room, they will paralyze this person. And I think the missing time is something that's put upon by the ETs, who will often say, "Don't worry, don't be afraid, we're going to erase your memory of this."
Similar description of their abductors.
They describe the big bulbous head, the big eyes, the spindly arms and legs, etc. The presence of that alien species is probably the most common within particularly malevolent abduction experience.
Hideous medical experiments.
Erin's report has a lot of the typical motifs, experimenting with our reproductive organs, harvesting human fetuses, and a lot of women have come forward saying that they were part of a secret intergalactic breeding program.
And physical evidence.
In the case of Erin, who had bruise marks on her thighs, and when I looked at Helen's case of getting the sunburn, the proximity with the craft may account for the severity of particular radiation exposure.
Despite all the physical and emotional pain they've endured, Helen, Terrell, and Aaron say their experience changed them in a positive way.
It did make a fundamental change in my outlook. I have an open mind to most things now.
At first, I was kind of angry. I felt used. But when I look back on it, it's like, it's for the best. It really opened my world up.
I honestly wouldn't change anything that had happened because it has become an integral part of who I am.
A lot of alien abductees over time re-articulate those traumatic experiences and feel a sense of transcendence, seeing that there is maybe a spiritual path of salvation on the other side of the trauma, that aliens are here to perhaps teach us in some ways more about ourselves and our relationship with the world around us.
But many ufologists suggest a more startling theory. They are actually here to endow our civilization with something else, and if proven, will radically change everything we believe and trust about the alien abduction phenomenon.
We're still at the level of speculation, but there's a very good possibility our military knows about it, our government. I believe there is a government cover-up.
In a brief, tiny flash of cosmic time, belief in extraterrestrial civilizations has grown significantly. And now, over half of North Americans believe that aliens have visited the Earth. Belief in abductions has increased as well, as more and more painful and shocking first-person accounts are being shared.
I think that's a step in the right direction. Being able to share an experience that one profoundly believes in to others who don't simply dismiss that experience, that becomes a really important way of reflecting on what they have seen or what they've encountered.
And that's going to drive that narrative even farther within the mainstream.
Even more encouraging, the usually rigid scientific community is now finally taking these highly personal and emotional accounts more seriously.
It's finally coming together as the start of a new science. They're doing legitimate scientific studies, writing papers.
They are starting to look at these phenomena within the context, particularly of quantum physics, as an example. All of these cases of missing time. Well, if time operates linearly and it is very predictable, then how can this be? Fortunately, there is an aspect of science that studies that.
How their crafts would be able to journey enormous distances to our planet, and for the most part, avoid human detection.
How many times have you seen or heard of people describing a craft showing up in the sky right in front of them? The craft literally disappears out of sight. The atoms and molecules that make up the craft may be operating in that same fashion, where they know how, literally, to bend time.
There is no technology here on Earth that comes anywhere close to matching this. It scares the daylights out of me.
These seemingly magical technological abilities are likely why the US government and various military branches are now so interested in this phenomenon.
Our military knows that these craft are many, many thousands of years ahead of us in technological abilities, and we have a long, long way to catch up to doing what they can do.
And some ufologists believe human governments may be getting alien assistance.
There are a lot of whistleblowers out there who have revealed what they know about UFOs, and they come from the military-industrial complex. We're still at the level of speculation, but according to some sources, our government has made a deal, a diplomatic agreement with the ETs. They are here to give us some of their technology.
And more alarming, our leaders may be turning a blind eye to what they've been doing to people like Terrell, Aaron, and Helen.
Our government is allowing these abductions to take place in exchange for technology. Our own military, our government, has spent an enormous amount of time, money, and energy making this subject look ridiculous and telling witnesses that they were hallucinating, that they're lying. This is very concerning. If we were to have open official contact with ETs, this is going to change the world. This is going to change the way people think. We will finally know for sure that we're not alone in the universe.
But for the people who believe they already met them, they know their lives will never be the same.
That night changed my life, changed my foundation as far as beliefs and what I think I know and definitely what I didn't know.
Now my life makes a lot more sense to me. And I think that myself and many other experiencers who are coming out and talking about it now are part of the process of helping others wake up and understand.
I think that there are many mysteries in this universe that we haven't even bothered to recognize yet.